The topic I'm going to discuss is the budgetary control. So before starting the topic, let's begin with the basic meaning of budget. That what do you mean by budget? In every organization, when a company wants to start up its business, before accomplishment of its business, the organization make certain kinds of plans and policies for accomplishing their goals in an effective time. So in the concept of planning, they made certain kinds of budget for the accomplishment of their project, like for the production purpose, for the selling purpose, for purchasing of raw material, and for selling of that produced goods. So these kind of things can be completed with the help of proper budget. So it is the duty of one expert person who maintain an efficient amount of budget policy, that for which department a particular type of budget is used and how much amount is to be provided to that particular department. So proper maintenance of budget is necessary for every organization for accomplishment of goal. So according to this slide, let's begin with the introduction portion. The term budget has appears to have been derived from the French word. The budget is derived from the French word that is baguette, which means a little bag. That little bag, that is the container of the documents or certain kind of accounts. A budget is a sort of accounting plans and policies through which the organization can accomplish their goal smoothly. Budget is basically related with the formal plans and policies through which those actions are expressed in the form of monetary terms. Monetary terms mean in which the financial transactions are related and the amount of cash is related. That how the cash is inflow within the organization and how the cash is outflow outside the organization. So every company, whether it may be the small organization or the big organization, may have some coordination for the purpose of achieving the activities within the organization. So for the accomplishment or for the execution of certain kind of goals with the using of efficient planning methods, those activities can be accomplished within a proper period of time. And that is why the management or organization has play an important role within the organization for accomplishing certain kind of activities and achieve their goals within proper period of time. So budgeting is a management device that is used for the short-term planning and control, and it is not just the accounting exercise. So if we are talking about the certain concepts that are related within the organization, and that concepts include the accounting exercises. So budget plays a major important role for the management of organization plans. It is basically for the short-term planning process that according to the changing in circumstances, how we can maintain a sufficient amount of budget within the organization and what kinds of plans and what kinds of controlling techniques are used within the organization for the maintenance of proper budget. So budget control is basically a method which is used to maintain and manage the cost through the preparation of budgets. Under the concept of budgetary control, there are two words, that is budgetary and the second one is control. As I have earlier said that budget means a proper amount of finance that is required in the organization for accomplishment of goal. Control means certain kinds of rules and regulations are prepared. These kind of things are prepared to maintain the control within the organization, that they set a standard or a set a line under which the organization have to perform some kind of activity, so that each and every department must use the proper amount of budget as it is necessary. The excess amount cannot be used by any department for performing their activities. So budgetary control maintain a proper systematic way in the organization to maintain certain kind of cost while preparing the certain kind of budgets within the organization. So budget is thus only a that portion or that part of budgetary control which plays the huge and important role within each and every organization. So Budgetary control is basically related to the establishment of budgets under which certain kinds of budgets are prepared, and that kinds of budgets are related to the certain kinds of responsibilities. That kind of responsibilities are provided to the number of workers who are working within the organization for accomplishment of activities. Those responsibilities are provided for the purpose of execution of plans and policies that has been decided before the starting up of business, and that policies are continuous, and that process must be compared with the actual performance and the budgeted result. Whatever the actions are performed within the organization must be compared at the end with the budgeted result as we have decided before starting up of any organization. And that particular actions may be secure in the nature of proper kind of budget. Each and every organization maintain a sufficient amount of budget, and with that use of particular kind of budget, certain activities are accomplished within the organization. If the organization used excess amount of budget in the organization, and it will leads to the difficulty for the organization so to accomplish their goals in future period of time. So it is the responsibility of each and every person that how they can utilize the proper amount of budget within the organization. And these kind of reports must be revised at every particular period of time so that the organization can maintain a proper level of budgetary control within the organization. The next concept we are going to discuss is the features of budgetary control. The main features of budgetary control includes the very first one is the establishment of budget for each purpose of the business. As the words have decided that budget is used within the organization, and that budget is used for the purpose of establishment of various kinds of activities within the organization. The activities may be include the purchasing activity, then further production activity, sales activity, distribution activity, and marketing activity. All these activities are accomplished with the establishment of efficient amount of budget within the organization. The next point is the revision of budget in view of changing in condition. Reviewing of budget means that the changing in amount of a particular kind of budget. Whenever the organization is making the plans and policies, they must be used for the future time period. But future is uncertain, and due to changing in circumstances, the taste and preference of the consumers also change. Due to certain kind of changing and changing in conditions, the organization need to change their budget and revise their budget too. So certain amount of variations must be included in budget while the circumstances, whether it may be the internal circumstances or external circumstances, the externals or internal circumstances are changed, then the budget within the organization must be revised. The next concept is the comparison of actual performance with the budget on a continuous basis. So whenever organization maintain an efficient amount of budget, and that budget may be used for the further process. After accomplishing a particular amount of activity and after the prescribed period of time, organization compare the actual performance with the budget performance on the continuous basis. This activity is done because of analyzing the actual performance, that how much amount of budget within the organization is used for this certain kind of activities. Those kind of activities must be performed with the given budget, not with the excessive amount. Next point is taking suitable remedial actions whenever is necessary. As in the third point, we do the comparison with the actual performance and with the budget on the continuous basis. So after analyzing the report, if there is any kind of problem or any kind of negativity within the report, then proper and suitable alternatives are taken by the organization for removing the excess amount of budget within the organization. Proper plans should be maintained by the organization, and these plans must be communicated to the number of workers who are performing their activities so that they can perform their activities with the given amount of budget. Next point is analysis of variations of actual performance from that of the budgeted performance to know the reasons therefore. So why we do the comparison of actual performance with the budget performance? The basic purpose is to analyze the number of variations, that how much increased in the report and how much amount is decreasing in the report. That kind of variations help to determine the actual performance through which the budgeted performance should be known by the organization. The next topic we are going to discuss is the advantages of budgetary control. What are the various advantages? For every institute or for every organization who maintain the efficient amount of budget with using the proper planning, it will definitely give the positive result at the end of any project. Basically, budgetary control system helps in coordinating the activities, controlling the activities, and help the organization to achieve the plan within proper period of time. So these kind of advantages will take the organization to the another level. So here are some points and we discuss the point one by one. The very first one is this system provides the basic policies or initiatives. While using the budgetary control system, it creates a standard for the organization and a proper system is provided under which various policies and initiatives are provided by the organization so that there is no disturbance while making any kind of productive or any another activity within the organization. According to the next point, it helps or enable the management to perform some business activities in the most professional manner. A standard is set and according to that standard, certain activities are performed within the organization. The basic purpose of setting the standard is to prepare the budget, and with that use of preparing budget, optimum use of resources are accomplished, and whatever the objectives are framed before the starting up of business, those objectives must be completed with the prescribed period of time. So according to the next concept, that is, it ensures the teamwork and thus encourage the spirit of support and mutual understanding among the staff. If the budget is provided and divided among the different departments in the equal manner and efficient amount is given, it will definitely make the workers motivated and it will improve their morale and it ensures the teamwork and it encourages the workers to perform their activities in an effective way. If the organization have proper amount of budget within the organization, it will definitely encourage the spirit of support. It will give support to the organization that they have the sufficient amount of finance. By using that kind of finance, they can use more innovative techniques for the production purpose. The next concept is it increase the productivity efficiency, eliminates wastage and control the cost. If the organization have proper budgetary control, then more innovative ideas are used by the workers to eliminate the wastage among the raw materials. It makes sure that a proper control over the cost must be maintained under the concept of budgetary control. If the proper control is maintained within the organization, it will definitely increase the amount of productivity efficiency while making the certain kind of production processes. According to the next point, it shows the management where action is needed to remedy a position. Basically, the budgetary control helps the organization to maintain a sufficient amount of balance within the organization and shows the management that how the certain actions are performed by the organization to accomplish any kind of activity. If there is any variation, any circumstances are changed, then a proper remedy of position must be given to the organization for sorting out these kind of problems. The next concept is budgeting also it's in obtaining bank credit. If the organization is sound with budget and have proper position in the financial term, then at the time of requirement of finance from the bank, then they can definitely get the proper amount of finance from the bank. Bank know that the company is financially sound and they are able to return the particular amount of loan after the prescribed period of time. Then it will give the benefit to the organization for obtaining the bank credit from bank. The next concept is the limitations of budgetary control. After deciding the various advantages of budgetary control, the next concept we are going to discuss is the limitations of budgetary control. Certain kind of limitations are occur due to the changing in circumstances. Those circumstances or those variations may be related with the internal environment or external environment. So the very first point we are going to discuss is it tends to bring about the rigidity in operations, which is harmful as the budget estimates are quantitative expression and all the relevant data. That is the tendency to attach some sort of rigidity and penalty. So prior to the various kinds of advantages, there are some limitations too. So according to the very first point, if within the organization, certain kinds of operations are performed with the help of budgetary control system. Budgetary control system basically brings a rigidity in operations. Rigidity means inability that is to be bent or to be forced out of shape. Whatever the activities are accomplished or whatever the plans are made, sometime with the prescribed or a bind budget is provided within the organization, that sort of bind budget may bring rigidity in the process of accomplishment of activities, so that the workers have to use the particular prescribed amount that is decided by the organization, and with that prescribed amount the organization must produce certain kind of activities. So it may be harmful for the organization whenever the condition is arises that they need to use some innovative ideas. They are not able to use that kind of ideas because of limited budget is provided to the organization. So according to the second concept, it becomes expensive is beyond to the capital of small undertakings. Whatever the activities are performed by the organization may be the large organization or the small organization. For both the organization, whether the organization is small in nature or whether the organization is large in nature, they need proper amount of finance for accomplishment of various activities. So for the accomplishment of these activities, in the case of small undertakings, budgetary control system is quite expensive for them and is beyond their capacity. So the mechanism of budgeting system is the detailed process that involves too much time and cost. Whatever the accomplishment is done in the budgeting control system, all the process involves too much time and too much cost for accomplishment of this budgetary control system, because a proper and expert person is appointed within the organization to control these kind of activities so that they can maintain a proper level of control. According to the next point, the budget cannot take the position of management, but it is only an instrument of management, as it is totally misunderstanding and misconception to think that while introducing the certain kind of budget is quite enough and ensure for the organization to meet the security level within the future time period. It is a myth, or we can say that it is a kind of misconception in the thinking that if an organization starting the budget at the starting period of time, then this is the enough for the organization and this provide a kind of security level to the organization to make certain kind of profits in the future period of time. Because of changing in circumstances and because of various variations in the organization, budget process and budgeting controlling technique should change according to the time and according to the scenario. So it is the another kind of limitation. According to the next point, it sometimes leads to produce the conflicts among the managers as each of them tries to take credit to achieve the budget targets. So sometimes whatever the production is done within the organization while doing the certain kind of production, that particular amount of set budget is used within the organization. So it will definitely lead the conflict among the various managers as each of them tries to make the credit to achieve the budget target. If the organization have different number of departments and each department have a person that is manager have to maintain a proper level of budget target within the environment of business. So it is very difficult process for the managers if there is a strict budgetary control system within the organization for accomplishment of goal. According to the next concept, that is the simple preparation of budgets will not ensure its proper implementation. If it is not implemented properly, it may lower the morale. So it is another kind of limitation that if the organization prepares the budget and that kind of budget is very simple in terms and policies, and that kind of budgetary control must not be implemented within the organization. So while making the budgetary control process, the budget should be maintained with the proper standards, proper plans and policies for accomplishment of various types of goals. The next concept we are going to discuss is the classification of budget. The classification of budget includes functional budget, flexibility, and time. According to the function, it includes the sub-points, that is sales budget, production budget, raw materials budget, purchased budget, labor budget, selling and distribution budget, administrative budget. And according to the flexibility, it includes fixed budget and flexible budget. And according to time, it includes long term, short term, and current. So the very first point we are going to discuss is the functional classification. Functional classification include that what kind of activities are performed within the organization. So the very first sub point we are going to discuss is the sales budget. According to the word, we can prescribe that budget which is used for the selling purpose. The sales budget is an estimation of total sales which can be accumulated in the financial or quantitative terms. Whatever the goods and services are produced by the organization for satisfying the needs and wants of customer. A proper sales budget is maintained by the organization which is used to estimate the total sales amount for the purpose of financial term and quantitative terms. It is normally the form of fundamental basis on which all other budgets are constructed. If the organization maintain the proper amount of sales budget, then they can make the another budget within the organization for another activities, because all other budgets are constructed after maintaining the sales budget within the proper prescribed period of time. So there are certain factors that should be considered in forecasting the sales, and that are as follows. The very first point is study of past sales to determine the trends in the market. While maintaining the sales budget, what organization should do? The person who is appointed to maintain the such kind of budget, they should study the past records of past sales that are maintained by the organization. And those study of past sale is used for the determination of various kinds of trends in the market. That is, it provides a kind of vision to the market that how they can set the particular amount of sale within the organization. According to the next person, that is the estimation made by the salesman, various markets of company product. if we took the historical data of the organization, that what kind of goods and services are produced by the organization and in which market the particular goods and services are sold, and what kind of customers are involved in that particular kind of market. All these things must be identified before starting up of sales budget. Next point is changing of business policy and methods. The budget should be set according to the terms and conditions of the organization, that the estimation should be done that in the future time period, according to the changing in circumstances, if the business is affected with due to some variations, then the changes must be adapted by the organization according to that time of variations. So changing of business policy and certain kind of methods should be adapted while maintaining certain kind of sales budget. Next one is the government policies, controls, rules, and guidelines. Whenever the organization maintain any kind of budget, but under which we are talking about the sales budget. While preparing the sales budget by the organization, they need to focus on internal environment and internal circumstances, and we can say that internal plans and policies. But prior to these plans and policies, they need to follow some rules and regulations of external environment too. External environment may include government policies, that what are the important export policies, what are their control, and what are the certain kind of restrictions that are implemented by the government policy. All these factors must be considered while forecasting the sales. The next concept is the production budget. According to the word, we determine that production means certain kind of goods and services are produced by the organization for satisfying the needs and wants of the customers. So the production budget is prepared on the basis of estimated production for the budgeted period. Whatever the amount is given to the particular department, with that use of budgeted period amount, proper estimation of production process is accomplished. Usually the production budget is basically depend, or we can say that it is basically based on the sales budget. Whatever the sales budget is accomplished, that production budget is depend upon the sales budget. So at the time of preparing the budget, production manager who is expert in the production activities will definitely consider some physical facilities, like the requirement of plant and machinery, that what kind of techniques and what kind of plant and machinery should be used within the organization for certain process. What are the parts, what are the factory space, what is the material used within the organization, and how the labor are used by the organization. The labor and the workers must be experienced so that the raw material will not be wasted. All these kind of things must be understood by the organization and analyzed by the organization while maintaining the certain kind of production budget. The next concept is the raw material budget. The word raw material means that kind of material which is used by the organization for making them into the finished product and sell it into the market. So direct material budget is prepared with the intention to determine the standard material cost per unit, and consequently it involves the quantities that can be used at per rate. So raw material budget is basically used to determine the particular amount of budget rate that may be the direct material budget. All these budgets are prepared with the intention that what is the cost of per unit material and what amount is used for making certain kind of production activities within the environment. So the budget shows the estimated quantity of all the raw material and number of components that are needed in the production activity. For the raw material purpose, that we can say that certain kind of spare parts, elements related to the paint and nails, wooden instruments, whatever the raw material that is used within the organization, budget shows the estimated quantity, that in how much quantity the particular raw material is purchased and what are its per unit cost. All these things are maintained and considered in the raw material budget concept by the organization. So the raw material serves the following purposes. That what is the purpose of raw material budget? It basically supports the purchasing department in scheduling the various kinds of purposes. So the basic purpose of maintaining the raw material budget, that it helps the purchasing department and they support the purchasing department for scheduling the various types of purchases, that in how much quantity the particular goods are purchases, and after deciding the particular amount of quantity, that what is the per unit cost of that particular product is. So it helps the purchasing department to scheduling the purchases that they have made within the organization. According to the next point, that is the requirement of raw material is decided on the basis of production budget. So whatever the raw material is purchased and what is the requirement of raw material within the environment is decided on the basis of production budget. Whatever the production budget is, after preparing the certain kind of production budget, then the decision should be taken on the requirement of raw material that is used within the firm. According to the next point, that is it provides the data for the raw material control. Basically, raw material budget helps in controlling the various kind of activities and reduce the amount of wastage within the organization. They provide the efficient amount of data related to the raw material control, that in how much quantity and how much per units are consumed by the organization for the production process. Next concept is the purchased budget. According to this concept, the word purchase means that gaining some activities or gaining some kind of production thing for the accomplishment of various kind of activities. So proper strategic planning of purchasing offer one of the most areas of reducing costs in many concern. If we maintain a proper purchased budget within the organization, so it helps in maintaining a proper amount of strategic planning. Those kind of strategic planning which helps in further purchasing the activity, and after purchasing the activity it will helps in reducing the particular amount of cost that is excessive in nature. So this will mainly consist of direct and indirect material and services. Whatever the indirect cost, whatever the direct cost that may be included in material and services, all these costs are determined under the concept of purchased budget. The purchased budget can be expressed in the term of quantity or in the term of money. So basically the purchase budget is related with the finance concept. The main purpose of this budget is to designate the cash requirement in respect of purchase to be made during the budget period. So what is the basic purpose of maintaining the budget within the organization? The basic purpose or objective is to maintain the sufficient amount of cash balance within the organization, so that at the prescribed period of time, whenever the organization needs the proper amount of finance, they can use that amount of cash for purchasing the different kind of goods and services for accomplishing their activities. According to the next point, it is a facilitating process that the purchasing department to plan its operations in a prescribed period of time in respect of purchase, so that the long-term forward contracts may be organized. In a purchasing department, certain kinds of plans and strategies are to be maintained, and those kinds of plans and policies definitely provide a facility in operation of various kind of activities within the firm. So basically it provides the long term and forward contract that give a vision to the organization that how the activities are accomplished and how the particular production is to be accomplished within the prescribed budget that is set before the starting up of business. So the next one is the labor budget. According to the word labor, that is the number of human resources that are required within the organization for accomplishing the operations. Every organization needs some workers for accomplishing their activities like production, sales, etc. So human resources are highly expensive factors that plays important role within the enterprise. Hence, most of the factors of production, the management should find out the advanced personnel requirement for various jobs in enterprises. Whenever the business wants to start up their various kind of activities, for accomplishing that sort of activities, every organization needs human resources with experienced and good knowledge human resources, or we can say that number of employees, the organization can accomplish their goals in an effective time period. So the proper budget must be maintained by the organization for providing the proper amount of remuneration to the human resources. So this budget can be classified into the labor requirement budget and labor equipment budget. So while making the particular selection of labor within the organization, a budget is to be set it, and in how amount and in and what kind of incentives should be provided to the number of workers for accomplishment their role and activity within the organization. A proper set of budget is maintained by the organization. So the labor that is important within the organization is to be categorized according to the various job categories such as unskilled labor, semi-skilled labor, supervisory. All these things must be considered while making the labor budget. So the labor employment is made keeping in view the requirement of the jobs, their classification and the degree of skills and experience that is required at the rate of pay. Whenever the recruitment process is accomplished by the organization, what kind of things should be determined by the organization? These things, that is the requirement of job, that for what purpose the particular person is needed within the organization. And after the requirement of job concept, its qualification, then the degree of skills and experience, its past work, all these things must be considered while paying the particular amount of wage to the worker. So the next concept is the selling and distribution cost concept. The selling and distribution cost budget is basically used for estimating the cost of selling of particular kind of goods that is produced within the organization. That is the budget for the advertisement purpose, delivery of goods and services to the customer. All these activities are accomplished with the help of selling and distribution cost budget. So these budget is closely related with the concept of sales budget because they need to analyze the logic for the purpose of selling the activities or selling the certain kind of production goods in the market. So a proper forecasting is done before doing any kind of selling and distribution activity within the organization. So a person is appointed who is known as the sales manager. That particular sales manager is responsible for accomplishing the activity of selling and distribution under cost budget. So a proper person who is expert in his work must be appointed with the activities, and that particular person must analyze the various market conditions, advertisement policies, various research programs. All these things must be considered by the expert. After analyzing these things, that how they can sell the particular kind of product in the prescribed market and to the efficient amount of customer, proper selling and distribution cost budget is maintained by the expert person who is known as manager. The next one is the administration cost budget. So under the concept of administration cost budget, this budget includes the administrative cost for non-manufacturing activities of business, like the particular amount in the form of director's fees is paid, managing director's salary, office lighting, heating, and air conditioning. All these non-manufacturing business activities are performed with the use of administration cost budget. If the expert person is appointed within the organization for providing the direction to the organization, that particular person must be given with the proper amount of incentives in the form of fees, their salary, or their commission. And any kind of office lighting and any kind of heating or air conditioning facilities provided within the organization, it must include in the administration cost budget. So most of the expenses are fixed in nature so that they should not be difficult to forecast. All these things, that is the salary, fees, lighting, heating and air conditioning, all these things or expenses are fixed in nature. So there is no kind of difficulty to forecast these kind of activities. So generally the budget is prepared in the form of fixed budget. Whenever the organization prepared a certain kind of budget for accomplishing their various activities, those kind of budgets should be prepared in the fixed nature so that at the end of the particular kind of project, proper amount of budget should be maintained within the organization.